Welcome everyone to NoDQ&A video here on NoDQ.com. The holiday season is upon us. Hopefully you all know the drill by now. Got some questions here regarding Raw. Got some other wrestling related questions. So let's get right down to it. Do you think it's a bit strange that a lot of wrestlers on Raw keep on mentioning John Morrison? Usually when a wrestler gets released, they're just swept under the rug. Do you think that there's a chance he'll return at some point in the future? Definitely. I think there's a possibility we will see John Morrison back in a WWE ring sometime down the line. Right now, I think he's just going to sit back and weigh his options. He can go to TNA. He can go back to WWE. They left the door open for him. They did the storyline where Miz took him out and then he was future endeavored by John Laurinaitis. So, I mean, in the storyline, there's still the possibility of him, just coming right back in and getting payback on the Miz. But right now, I think he's just going to take some time off. I'm sure he's hurting a lot. These guys, all these wrestlers are on the road constantly. They rarely get time off. So Morrison has that opportunity to just let his body heal. And maybe he'll look into some acting roles. If it was me, I would take some improv classes. The Miz did improv a few years ago, and he improved significantly. So, and we've talked about before how that's like the one thing Morrison really needs. He needs to improve on the microphone and just develop his character more. And I think the improv classes would help him a lot. So we'll see what happens with Morrison. He's definitely got some time to think about his future, and we'll see where things go. Hi, Aaron. 2 questions. Firstly, do you agree that Raw was one of the best episodes in a while, apart from the Kevin Nash segment? Secondly, what is WWE trying to gain with the future endeavored comment towards Jomo? Please answer in text. Thanks. Well, since I already answered the Jomo part, I'm just going to do the rest of it in video. Sorry about that. Regarding Raw, I wouldn't say it was one of the best episodes. I thought it was a good Raw. I was entertained by it. There were some flaws with that show, definitely. I mean, in terms of building up the TLC pay-per-view, I'm not really sure what WWE was thinking. I mean, you have your 2 WWE title contenders, Alberto Del Rio and The Miz, backdoor their way into a match essentially. And then at the very end of the show, CM Punk lays them both out. So what are we paying for? And then you have Randy Orton, who in his match with The Miz, he throws Miz back into the ring and then runs up the ramp to try to catch Wade Barrett. So the top baby face Randy Orton was outsmarted by the heel Wade Barrett. And just weird there. I mean, normally the top baby face would be the one to outsmart the heel, not the other way around. And so Orton didn't particularly look good in that segment. And Mark Henry didn't look very good on this show. He ended up losing to Zack Ryder of all people. Now, I'm glad Zack Ryder's getting his push, and he was on this show a lot. So I'm happy for Ryder. I'm happy he's getting his opportunity. But the way the whole U.S. title match storyline has gone has been very weird. I mean, Ryder's been losing match after match. He lost to John Cena. He only beat Mark Henry because John Cena's interference. One would think that if you're going to push Zack Ryder, you would have him win some matches and make him a dominant force. Like I've said before, I only think the Ryder character can go so far if they're going to, make him an underdog and not really make him credible. So we'll have to see what happens with Ryder. He's finally going to get his title shot. And regarding Kevin Nash, I was fine with him just coming out destroying Santino Marella. At least Nash finally had a match on Raw. It's about time. On that note, I'm not really looking forward to Triple H versus Kevin Nash in a ladder match. I'm not really sure. Once again, not really sure what WWE is thinking there. Unless they have some sort of master plan for this match, it's going to be a clusterfuck. It's going to be a train wreck. But, overall, entertaining Raw. They still have the 3-hour Slammy Awards to build up the TLC pay-per-view. But you know what? The pay-per-views aren't really sewn anymore. So it doesn't really bother me much anymore. I'm kind of over it. And perhaps the pay-per-views are going to go in a different direction. We'll talk about more on that in a few minutes. What does it look like John Cena will be doing at TLC? He doesn't have a match right now, but do you see him getting in that WWE title match and making it a fatal 4-way? Please say no. Well, I'd like to say no to make you happy, but the likelihood is he's going to somehow end up getting into that match. I mean, there's really no other role for John Cena right now, and they're not going to have the pay-per-view without John Cena. I just think next week on Raw, there's going to be some sort of storyline where Cena ends up being put back into the match. So we'll see. Were you gagging as much as I was watching Raw this Monday, in which they had Cena all over Ryder and helping him out to try to get on the good side of the fans that are tired of Cena? Yeah, it definitely seems like John Cena's character is really behind Zack Ryder. And I'm not really sure it's a way of WWE trying to get the male audience to cheer for Cena. I just think, that's something John Cena's character would do. John Cena's character is a workhorse, and he naturally he would respect a guy like Zack Ryder, who's also a workhorse. So I don't see anything wrong with it, and I don't really think there's any motive behind it. I just think that's how it's playing out. And I'm not really sure what the direction of John Cena's character is right now. I mean, once again, they keep mentioning the booing. They mentioned it several times on Raw this week. So one would think that at some point Cena's going to snap and there's going to be some sort of turn. Maybe not a full-fledged heel turn, but maybe, like I said, a situation with similar to Bret Hart in 1997, where Cena's a heel to the male audience, which essentially he is right now. So I don't know where it's going. I am interested to see where it goes, but perhaps it'll end up going nowhere. I mean, we've seen other storylines like the anonymous Raw GM storyline that ended up going nowhere. So I don't know. Hey Aaron, how are you? My question is, back in 96, 97 in WCW, do you think it was WCW's idea for Sting to change to the Crow persona, or was it Sting's? And my other question is, in your opinion, who is a better wrestler, Sting or Bret Hart? Okay, regarding the first part, I actually think it was Scott Hall's idea, from what I recall. It was Scott Hall who had seen the Crow movie and figured that would be a good idea for Sting, and they went with it. Regarding the second part of the second question here, it depends on what your criteria is. I mean, in terms of being a technical wrestler, Bret Hart was way better than Sting. But in terms of charisma and not just as a wrestler, but on the microphone and cutting promos and just having a lot of energy, I mean, in some ways Sting was better than Bret Hart. But I mean, overall, I would say Bret Hart was a better wrestler and sports entertainer in general, just because Bret could, he's more believable than Sting. I mean, Sting was a little bit over the top, and Bret Hart, had brought more realism to the product. What were your thoughts on WCW's World War III 60-man Battle Royal in 3 rings? One word: clusterfuck. I mean, it was a good idea. I give Bischoff credit for trying to do something different, but it just didn't work out. I mean, you had 3 different screens going on at one time, and it was really difficult to follow. And the announcers got lost a lot of the time, and who could blame them? I mean, it was just too much. Definitely too much. What do you look forward to most with the WWE Network? I might never leave my house again. I'm just looking forward to seeing if this works out for WWE, because I think it's a huge risk that they're taking. I mean, every single project that they've done outside of their core business has not been successful. You look at the XFL, you look at the WBF, you look at WWE Studios. I'm not really sure if there's enough of an audience for a full-time wrestling network to prevail. And, I'm sure, you have your hardcore wrestling fans that are going to want to see all the old footage, from Nitro and Raw and all the old promotions. And, I'm looking forward to seeing the legends all living together in the house. So, and then, I was talking about earlier with the pay-per-views, there's talk going around that perhaps WWE will start dropping some of these B pay-per-views and just airing them on the WWE Network. So, I mean, time will tell if it works out, and, they're putting a lot of stock into it. So, for their sake, I hope it's a success, but I don't know. All right, that'll do it for today's edition of NoDQ&A video here on NoDQ.com. You can submit a comment at youtube.com/NoDQCAW. Please subscribe, please spread the word, and we'll see you next time.